Hello, this is Candy from eyes2jesus.blogspot.com, and today I thought I would go ahead and video a daytimer ringectomy. In other words, we are going to take a beautiful teal desk size genuine leather Daytimer Malibu, and we're going to get out some tools, and my husband is going to use a Dremel tool to remove the rivets and get those little tiny 1-inch rings out of there. And then we're going to put in 1.5-inch rings. So if you would like to see how to get bigger rings in your daytimer, or specifically a desk size Daytimer Malibu, stay tuned. Let's get started.
So here's the thing, guys. When they make these, the rivet is pushed up through and the top is folded over. So all you got to do is get rid of the top. Now, this is the grinding wheel tip. They're brittle. All I have to do is bump it against something, I'll break it. It's funny that it'll take what you're about to see, and yet it's kind of easy to break. But yeah, so this typical Dremel tool, this thing's 20 plus years old, and you can get these pretty cheaply, I think, at Walmart. And just getting the little cutting wheel thing comes in the original small kit. So all you want to do is just take the top off. You don't have to go very deep, and that way you can still keep these rings from getting messed up. I've got it folded back this way because it's going to throw off these rocks plus hot metal is going to go this way. It'll spark. If it was nighttime, you'd see sparks, and it's best not to get it on this too much. So I've got it bent away for that. All right, this is a variable speed one. I think about middle, 2/3. Oh, one other thing. Got to be wearing some glasses of something, sunglasses, and remember this, since it's going to be throwing kind of grit and stuff, they should be glasses you don't care about if they get marks on them. Safety glasses are official. Are you zoomed in, Dove?
Yes, I am. We're getting it.
We're looking for that top to fall off. We're looking for it. There it is. There it is. I got into this. On this one, I got into this little piece here up a little bit, which meant I really already had it done. So you want to try to go even, because if you go in just one spot, it'll create a big old crevice in it, you know. Now, so as you can see, it's coming off on there already. I should have just pulled it earlier and see if it would have come up. That way I wouldn't have accidentally got into this so much on this guy, for whatever that's worth, you know. Let's turn it around and do the other side. Alright. So see how I use my finger to guide it, so that I'm not kind of like doing this so much. See, I'm holding this, and I use that as my standard, so I can just move it a little bit. All right, I think I've got it. Not quite, a little bit more, right there. See, I can see the circle at the top of it, and right there. See, I'm trying to not get into this one as much, but if you don't care about the old rings, you can just go for it. There we go. Okay, it turns out that I could have just used my leg to lay it on. But at any rate, there's another way that you can bolt in the new back, or bolt in the new rings using the original spine. And so in order to do that, I think I should clean this up. Now that I've got the other piece out of the way, there's some jagged stuff sticking up. We're just going to want to just kind of go around the edge nicely and just kind of make it a little bit more rounded and nice. And by the way, this right here is your shaft lock on this guy. See, it turns, and you push that forward, and it locks it, and that's when you'd put a little wrench on here to get this guy in and out. On some of these, by the way, when you tighten it down and you loosen it, it doesn't seem to want to come off. And the trick to getting it off if it doesn't slide right out when you loosen it, is to push it in this way, which makes the little collar thing release. That's a trick I don't know how many people know, but before I figured that out, I broke a couple of these trying to get them out. So anyway, here we go. This rivet is willing to go in a circle, which means it's not all that tight in the spine. Now, you can also use the face of this to get a nice even result. See? That pretty much cleaned it up. Yeah, that's good. The burrs are pretty much off of it. Now get this one. I'm just going to kind of bring it down. You always like to move around a little bit. I'm keeping it flat. I'm going to just go like this a little bit. You can kind of see where the bulge is from the original installation where it's squeezed. I'm going to try to get it down below that bulge a little bit. I was just flattening it out a little bit. Oh, it's turning for me. That's nice. I'll make it nice and even. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, that's pretty good. There's a little bit of burrs inside, but those don't really matter. Alright. That's cleaned up then. Okay, so now we want to separate this piece of leather from that piece of leather so that we can get this out to put the screws in it. And for this you want to use an X-Acto knife. This is not actually an X-Acto knife, it's some other brand, so it's a pretty close-o knife. We just go in there and just kind of go nice and easy. You're looking just to try to, and you don't want to go any further than you have to. Got a couple there. There we go. Got a couple. I'm doing this on the bottom, not the top. Okay. Alright, that pretty much gets it. Now, see how I got to get that loose. And then the hardest part really is to get them to let go. I think if you open this up a little bit, you can pull the leather maybe. See? Try to get it through there. That's another reason why it was good to get the burrs off of it. Actually, if I have something I can put up in there. That'll make it come out a little more easily. To get my finger in there to make it let go, popped open another stitch or two here and it pulled the stitches off of the top. So now we don't have a continuous nice line of stitching. Now that would be fairly easy to stitch. I mean, you could always put a needle and thread through there with some white thread and just put more thread back in. The other thing you could do is before you even cut underneath here, you could put maybe some kind of a glue, maybe that kind of glue that you'd use on a fingernail, real clear, just really lightly on the stitches on the top just to hold them in place and so that they don't mess up. But anyway, the rivet came out for the bottom. Now I'm going to make it let go on the top, and all you need is like an Estes rocket launching piece of metal or a coat hanger. This is an Estes rocket thing. See, I'm going to just pop it. See, there we go. Alright. Now we just want to get that spine to come out. See if I can get my fingers on it. There we go. And the other, it's just really a piece of cardboard for a little stability. Sometimes I guess it could be metal, depending on what brand it is. But these are out already. And so this really just held those in the proper places when they put it in. Alright, so this spine's hole can take a number 8 screw. And it would fit in it just about perfectly. But I'm going to put a smaller screw in, and the reason is because as the screw gets bigger around, the head gets bigger. And it'll start bumping out in the back. So this would be a nice unobtrusive screw that we can put in there. And you might even be able to find, actually this is almost, I guess, kind of a pan head. This is a fairly small one. So this is a number 6 screw. But I don't know if it's long enough. Now if you put it in one that's too short, then you won't have enough thread sticking up to get it started. And if you put it in one that's too long, it can start to look kind of crazy. And that'll be sticking up, possibly catching your pages. So I'm going to try this one first, and I'm just going to put it in the first hole here just to see how it fits, because it's got to be able to go through this thickness, and still have enough threads to start. Hopefully this one's right, because if it's not, then what I might do is put that other long screw in and cut it off with the Dremel tool. So this is just to try the fit. Okay, so I'm going to be able to start that screw, it looks like. And pushing down on it holds the head on the other side from trying to turn. See, that's okay. And if I wanted to, I might even be able to put a washer on it. But you know, it really doesn't need a washer, not with that nut. That nut's big enough to just kind of do the job. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is get this out. These screws are standard lengths, so these are the kind of screws you'll be able to find in the hardware store. The length of this screw is, it's called a 1/2 inch. This is a 6/32 1/2 inch long screw. It's also stainless steel, so that if fingers touch it and oils get on it and stuff, so maybe a little bit of salt from sweat or something, it won't start rusting. So it's stainless steel nut and a stainless steel screw. Can be gotten at the Ace hardware store. Alright, so I've got my glue here. This is Permabond 108, but we just call it super glue. And this is QFS 16 glue accelerator. What it does is it makes it dry really fast, because sometimes you put super glue on, it doesn't dry so fast. But you can mix a 2-part epoxy and do the same thing. But what I'm getting around to here is that this screw really needs to be glued to this thing. So when you put it up in there, it doesn't fall out on you, and it doesn't try to twist all the time when you're starting the screw and taking it out. So let's go ahead and put some glue on that. I'm just going to try to get around the outside. I don't want to get too much on there, make a mess. Alright, that's pretty good. See if I can center it up a little bit in that hole, about like that. Because put it in about the center of that old detent from the rivet. And then you put this stuff on. It's kind of like fingernail polish remover on the smell or something. I dry it. Blow. We get it, and that causes that super glue to just dry really fast, super fast. There, it's already dried. See? Now it might dry a little more, but it's dried enough to use. One more 1/2 inch stainless steel screw. And see, what we're doing here is we're putting in the opposite of what's in these spines usually. Usually the nut is in the spine, and then you put the screw in from the top. Well, we're going to put the screw in from the bottom and put the nut on top, just because those are kind of fancy. Those nuts that fit up through nice and thin through the holes, that's a fancy thing to get a hold of. A riv nut might work, by the way. Those might be gettable from the hardware store. But there we go. Now you may want to make sure it's really dry before you put it in. I think that just looks wet because it's the glue. This one's a little bit wet. You know, whatever chemical this is, maybe it's not great for leather, so I just try to make sure it's fairly dry. It feels pretty dry now. It doesn't really feel that damp or anything. Alright, and then you just put it in. Make sure you don't hit that first hole. So this thing keeps the spacing, it helps you get that other screw in. See it's up there? I can tell it's over to the side. I'll try to wiggle it towards the middle more. And then also, opening this up like that, it gives the leather the ability to move up. Let's get the bottom one in first, then I'll know I'm correct top to bottom. and then I'll just have to worry about side to side. Oh, the other one popped through. There we go. Okay, we got that. Then you put this on. And then we start the screw. This time I don't have to push down on the screw to keep it from spinning because it's glued to the spine. There we go. Alright, now you could almost go finger tight with these, and I don't think they'd come loose on you, especially if you put a little clear fingernail polish on the top so that it doesn't, so that it would kind of make this and that not want to turn against each other. But yeah, we could just put a little bit of a twist on with some needle nose. It doesn't have to be perfect. There. I'm kind of compressing it's squeezing the leather when I do that. And when you squeeze the leather, it acts a lot like a lock washer in that it's got some compressibility to it, which means it can't just do a little bit of a turn and be loose. It has to turn kind of a lot before it's loose because the leather has a cushion to it that will try to keep the space taken up. Alright, there you go. So besides this, we're set. The last one we did, we just left it. This could be restitched with some white stitching if somebody wanted to get fancy. I'm not as good at that kind of thing.